Good morning. My colleagues and I have returned back to the office, and so now many of us are having to do the juggle between home and the office because not all of us can be in the building at the same time. And I've realised that this presents quite a few challenges. And so today I want to talk about what I call hybridizing skills, or how to juggle this constant moving back and forth from home to work. And this is a really important skill to master because research actually suggests that the best combination for productivity and for well-being tends to be people working a little bit at home and a little bit in the office. And in fact, research shows that if people do that, they tend to be more productive and have better well-being. How do we get the best of both worlds, or how do we hybridize? 5 tips today. Number 1 is get set up properly in both locations, which may sound obvious, but I spent the first 2 weeks constantly forgetting cords, not having a proper chair in one location, only having half a screen in one, etc. And so in the end, it really was very inefficient for my work. So just like we had to invest at the beginning of this whole situation in setting ourselves up properly, I think we need to reinvest in setting up both at home and in the office. The second tip is to maintain some of those strategies that you've been using to work effectively at home. So for many of us, actually, when you work at home, it is important to try to maintain some separation between the work that you're doing at home and your family life. So, for example, one of my blogs was about the importance of getting dressed every morning and going to your separate workspace in the house. And this is important because it activates your work identity and it maintains boundaries between those different elements of your life. But I found that because I was just working at home one day in this sort of hybrid model, I found that I didn't actually get bothered to go out to my set-up office, and instead I just sort of sat on the couch and did my work from there. And not only did this cause me a very bad back, it really meant that I lost focus for that day. So all those things that you've learned about working from home successfully, don't throw those things out. Retain them in this new hybrid model of working. Number 3, be strategic about what you do where. So a simple rule of thumb might be collaborate when you're in the office and concentrate when you're at home. So choose those tasks that line up with the environment that is most conducive to performing them effectively. Now, of course, that rule of thumb might not apply to everyone. Just this morning, somebody said to me that because they have small children at home, they find they can concentrate better in the office. But the point is really to think carefully about what you do best where, and then to take control of your diary and your plans to make sure that you do that as much as possible. Number 4, do your bit to make sure that it's worth coming into the office. Again, I've heard quite a few people express some disappointment about getting back into the office, and this is the reverse culture shock that I talked about in another blog, because it's sort of not quite what they remembered. It's also not as good as it was because only 1/3 of people are here at any one time, and we're all sort of struggling to figure out a little bit how we can interact and so on. But of course, now where people have the choice to be working at home, we have to put some effort into making sure that work is a place people want to come. So it might be having some social activities, having some lunches, or some interesting discussions, but putting some effort in. And I don't think this is just managers' responsibility, I think it's everyone's responsibility, putting some effort into making work, the office, a place that you want to be and that your colleagues want to be as well. And number 5 is master the art of these hybrid modes of communication. And I have to confess, I don't think we've quite mastered them yet here in our office. Some of the challenges, for example, include if you're having a meeting with 4 or 5 people and one of them is on Zoom, you can either sort of get completely focused on the person on Zoom, and then you have a very stilted conversation where everybody is talking to the person on Zoom in a loud voice. Or you can have the complete opposite, where people just get on and have a wonderful meeting and forget about the poor old person on Zoom. And obviously neither of those approaches is very effective. So we're going to have to learn about how to mix up this face-to-face communication with the online communication. And that applies, of course, to things like seminars and things as well. So some time, again, needs to be invested in thinking about some sort of simple rules for how to run those sorts of meetings. So in the end, we're likely to be doing this juggling homework for a long time, not just because of the pandemic, but because a lot of organisations have discovered now the value of people working at home, and they're loosening up and encouraging a lot more flexibility. So I think this sort of hybrid model is here to stay. So it's worth investing in some skills to be able to do it effectively.